Hey, you there, random viewer. Did you hate Season 4 of You to the point of dropping the show, but decided, you know what? I'm gonna check out Season 5, fuck it. And did you have mixed feelings? Cause I did. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the final season of You. And yeah, it goes off the rails in a bit, in the best and worst ways. It's kind of a mixed bag here, but overall I thought it was pretty solid, especially compared to Season 4. But definitely not perfect, right? And this season is chaotic, man. It's emotionally explosive at times, and actually has something to say, even if it occasionally makes zero sense. And yes, there's plenty of times where there's gaps in logic. Lots of logic gaps here. But let's break down what You Season 5 got right, and what went wrong in my opinion, and why I might think this is the most uncomfortable season yet, for Joe and for us. Let's start with the general stuff, no spoilers yet. First off, You Season 5 for the most part is a return to form, right? The season grounds itself back to New York after we've seen Joe essentially travel the world in his psychotic journey to find love. No, literally, he found love. And this already sets the foundation for a much more grounded story, especially coming from Season 4, which I believe turned off a lot of fans of the show. It did for me a little bit, because it just definitely was a little underwhelming. And while the show was always far-fetched, Season 4 was a bit out there and honestly a bit silly. And you really have to turn off your brain to enjoy it. Like, how can you fake your identity to be an English professor in London? Cap. Overall, that season just wasn't as compelling, and I think that's more towards the execution of the storytelling, and the other characters is falling a bit flat compared to past seasons. In that aspect, I can say this season managed to do some pretty good character work, even besides just Joe. Let's talk Madeline Brewer. I was so excited when she was casted for this role, just because I see the amazing character work she has done in A Handmaid's Tale. Talk about star power. She definitely needs her in more projects going forward. But anyway, she really shines here, playing the role of a girl next door for the first half to a manipulated love interest, and then into the hero who takes down Joe was just done so well from her. Her character goes through a lot here, and she damn did deliver. This season overall just brings the show back to its psychological thriller roots. If you were to compare Season 1 to now, it is night and day how different the story feels. Season 1 was like an innocent look at Joe's life, and tries to paint him as the victim of a man just trying to find his own true love. And even from the way it's shot and directed, you could see that. But the shots of him spacing off are dreamlike and have an aura of warmth surrounding them. Compared it to Season 5, and Joe is haunting and psychotic, and the shots and scenes we get are cold and chilling, just to further show Joe's vast changing character. He's super short with people, and while he actually believes he's truly the victim here. The pacing is tight here, especially in episode 2. I just love that dinner table scene with all the tension. Easily one of my favorite moments this season. I don't think the story drags on though, and I really do like that. I thought episode 1 and 2 were really well paced and never got bored, really, of the story. Penn Badgley is leaning all the way in here. This version of Joe is losing his grip, and it shows. He's no longer calm and collected, he has emotional outbursts and mood swings every second, and his mental spirals are front and center. And he makes a lot of mistakes. And at least visually, this season's really good looking. We get these beautiful close-ups and haunting moments. Like, I love the shot of Joe walking down the stairs here, just like a completely psychopath, man. Okay, so now's the time for spoilers. If you haven't finished Season 5 yet, click away, but I'm pretty sure you probably all finished it by now. It's been like 2 weeks, but you've been warned. Joe's mental breakdowns have been like a huge highlight for me this season. It's crazy seeing how he was in earlier seasons. Like, he did have breakdowns, but nothing as erratic and as scary as this. Like, he sounds like a psychopath now.
How did I become this person? I try to love.
And hearing how he openly talks about just offing people is crazy. And Kit's reaction to all of this is really funny because she's like, why are you doing all this? Like, I thought you can control yourself. No, you thought wrong. But she is an enabler when it's for her own benefit. But she does redeem herself, so I'm not gonna hold it against her too much. But man, the scene where he monologues to Bronte, don't know if I like it or not. It felt a bit much, but I guess it doesn't make sense of how far he has gone. Like, look at the way he even threatens to kill the twins and the twins' husband. It's crazy. Now, I do want to expand more on the twins. The twin twist honestly did work thematically. It ties back to one of the season's strongest messages, you know, monsters create monsters, that type of deal. But let's not kid ourselves. Reagan only existed to serve that twist. Her character, was more of a plot device than a fully fleshed out person to me. And while the twist was satisfying in a type of whoa moment, it kind of felt a little bit manufactured. It's clever, sure, but definitely not subtle, and I felt like I saw it coming. Come on. Now, speaking of monsters, Kate is far from innocent, and this season really leans into the idea that she and Joe are two sides of the same coin. Sure, Joe's a literal murderer, yeah, but Kate destroys lives in a different way. She does it professionally, sociably, and reputationally. She condemns lives with her signature, or she'll silence you. And that's what makes her story so compelling, is that neither one of them sees what they do as evil. In fact, they both justify it in the same name of, protecting others or saving themselves and their family. In this aspect, Kate is exactly like her father. And that's why the moral dilemmas between Kate and Joe is so fascinating early on. You see two people who are wildly toxic, trying to make their own dysfunction feel like love. And the question that kept bugging me, or at least early on, right before I guess the middle of the season, is, does Kate even know that Joe's sneaking off with Bronte? Because she's not as stupid as previous exes are of Joe's. Because if she did, that just adds a whole new level of manipulation and power play to the relationship. Because at least, or we can see, Joe doesn't wear the pants in the relationship. He never had with Kate, because Kate has all that power. And yeah, that's just really early on, because eventually we do see that she does know about it. But I do question how come she never really monitored Joe very much from the beginning, only towards the end of the season, especially knowing the history behind Joe. Some random things I thought are my little nitpicks, but I thought were funny. Kate's brother felt weirdly down for Kate early on for me, and I was like, oh, is he planning something? Why is he so loyal to Kate? But he's just loyal, and that's just a show playing on me thinking the worst of people. Things with Bronte's character do get interesting, especially when the reveal happens that she's always been kind of scoping out Joe to take him down. And the whole boyfriend thing, not really being her boyfriend, but being a friend of the group, But when he dies, right, there's no way you could tell me she sees Joe as a loving person she can fix at this point. I know it's complicated, I get that. And the show does a good job here, I think, showing it, but I was just floored. There's no way you watch your homie die. He just openly kills this guy and you're still defending him after all the kind of hearsay evidence you built against a big ass case you built against him at this point. How? Now, if there's anything I didn't like in this season, I guess it's just the overall. I know what type of show I'm watching, right? You isn't more of a Dexter where it's taken more seriously, or Dahmer where it's supposed to be hyper realistic of who this serial killer is. But this series does lack a sense of realism that does take you out the story. It took me out a lot in past seasons, but season 4 was unbearable the way it takes you out. Super far-fetched guy in London changed his whole identity. Now he's a teacher, professor. That's cap, right? But this season, it still is there, the silliness of it all, where it just feels super far-fetched. And that does hurt, I think, the overall narrative of the story, because you just take it less seriously as what it is, right? Where I believe the show wants you to believe that this could really happen, where, people who have the wrong ideas for love would kill for love, and how scary that can be. But that thematic narrative is hindered just from how unrealistic the show can be at times. And that's just my take on that. Don't get me wrong, I don't think the vast majority of viewers are actually watching you to see what the messaging is going to be at the end and what the big overall theme is, right? But I do think when we look back at you 5-6 years from now, are we really going to remember it as being a really great show with clear messaging? I don't know if that's really true or not, just because how unrealistic and kind of far-fetched the story can be at times, where it won't be taken as seriously, But it's still a great watch, but I'm just saying, I don't think the messaging is super clear. There's a lot of plot holes and logic gaps where, to the point where I can only ignore so much. Like, you're telling me Joe transported a whole body out of an NYC office undetected? Like, this is like Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed level shit you expect me to hear, you know, to buy. And the show has always done shitty logic gaps like that, where Joe magically can move a body out of, I don't know, the middle of East Village or something, and it'll end up in his basement. That is stupid, sure. I'm not saying we have to see it all the time, but like, stuff like that is where it gets a little silly. And there's plenty more logic gaps, and we've seen them in past seasons, but it is annoying and takes me out the story a bit because it's just super far-fetched. But you can't take the show too seriously, and that's kind of my point. Now, there was definitely some missed opportunities I felt. Again, it's not really a real knock on the show, but I felt like it would have been cool just to see these things happen. Like, Jenna Ortega's character is not here at all, and I want justice for, I guess, Delilah. Even though it's credited to be Love's kill, not really Joe's, but Joe is part of the reason, right? I'm assuming Jenna Ortega couldn't do this show, that's why she's not here. But she wasn't even really acknowledged. Or even Joe's mom and younger brother. They weren't even here. Especially with him getting caught, it would have been really cool to see them visiting him in prison, or at least at his trial or something like that. But they seem just totally out the loop. Let's talk the ending. I thought the big finale at the house was really good and really well done. Just the tension created from like the environment was crazy. God, was it satisfying when Bronte finally brought up what happened to Beck. The performance from Madeline Brewer here was top notch. And Penn Bagley has really just taken on this character to a whole new level, but his breakdown here was absolutely insane. I remember when Dahmer came out and Evan Peters was terrifying in the role, but we're finally truly seeing Joe in that same scary light that Evan Peters embodied in Dahmer, right? The scariest part of this scene is that Joe generally believes he's the victim here. Not all the corpses he's piled on throughout the years, or even his son who's suffering as a result of his actions. He truly thinks that he's the lost soul here. Overall though, despite like my criticisms, the final finale definitely did hit. The reflection where Joe flips the narrative back on the audience, I thought was genius. The show's title, You Always Meant Us. Why are we still watching it? Why are we rooting for Joe and we know how bad he is? The naming, the meta commentary, the moral decay, it all folds together really well in the end. Joe is a cautionary tale about toxic love, male entitlement, and obsession disguised as romance, or call it, be it love. And even if it sometimes gets too theatrical, You still knows how to make you uncomfortable in all the right ways. So yeah, You Season 5. Not perfect, but solid. But I did think overall it was a great end to Joe's journey. Or do you think it was? Let me know what you thought of the season in the comments. Did the season work for you? Did Joe deserve worse? And are you still rooting for Joe? Hit that like button and sub for more reviews, and I'll catch you in the next one.